Well, I think first India has to leverage yoga and Ayurveda for building its own inner strength, inner body. Just like at the individual level, you leverage yoga to build your own self as a person, your health and your clarity of mind and your vitality, your energy level. Similarly, at the collective level, we have to do collective yoga. We have to do collective yagna. The collective yagna is a very vast topic. I'm actually writing a book, not this next one, but two books later. The next one, then number two, and then the third one is the one I'm writing on the collective yoga of society, of nation building. What do we have to do for that? That's the whole topic of that book. So India as a nation, uh, with so much diversity of all kinds you can imagine, for it to stay together and for it to thrive in a holistic way, in a harmonious way, it has to it has to practice yoga. Every single person inside India should be a yogi to the extent they can, in order for us to have the maximum performance, whether it's your cricket team performance, whether it's your job performance, whether it's your family life performance or whatever performance, political performance. Your performance gets a turbo boost when you practice these kind of methods, because it raises your clarity and your consciousness so much more. So we must install yoga in all the school systems. We must have Indian Institute of Yoga like we have Indian Institute of Technology in every state. All the 28 states should have an Indian Institute of Yoga where we are training yoga teachers. And we should be training women teachers, we should be training Dalit teachers, we should be training teachers from marginalized sections of society. They don't need to be learned, they don't need to have read all the texts, they need to be practitioners, they need to be adhyatmic, inner being people. If you use yoga as a system of human rights empowerment, rather than the Western idea of human rights empowerment, which is tearing our country apart and breaking India, we should introduce yoga as our human rights empowerment. And this would create a better society, and all the people joining it would become better human beings. They would have better jobs, better employment, more money. All of that will benefit. So I would say that uh, before we export, and rather than exporting and forgetting our own consumption, we must become the world's biggest consumers of yoga. Right now we are not. On a per capita basis, there's more white Americans doing yoga and Europeans on a per capita basis than Indians. I mean, I know a lot of people in Delhi, they'd rather go and sit in a club somewhere and do whatever lifestyle they're having is hardly the yogic lifestyle. And it's a shame that we have to re-import Americanized yoga back into India. This is very sad. Okay. And the reason it's becoming necessary is because we haven't produced enough quantity and quality of our own yoga teachers. So I would say, and another sad thing, I saw a report from China. They concluded that they needed 500,000 yoga teachers in China, because it'll help the health of the society. They want to introduce it in all the schools. They want to. They really want to go big on yoga. So when this happened like 10 years ago, several American yoga teachers moved to China to start training academies. So yoga, which comes to the US, becomes Americanized, becomes digested, now gets re-exported as an American product to China, and those guys are thriving. So I have talked about this to so many Hindu leaders, and they all think it's a great idea. Somebody should do it. Some of them have gone and set up, a group which teaches 20 people, 50 people, 100 people, but they're not into scaling. They're not able to scale it to the extent that China needs it scaled. Now, I would have thought that India would go and franchise it out. Indians would go set up these yoga centers. Indians would own them. India has the credibility in the eyes of the Chinese as the people who really know all this stuff. Why aren't the Indian big industrialists combining with the yoga teachers and gurus, setting up these huge collaborations to have a franchise which says, okay, the goal is to have 10,000 yoga centers all over China? Why don't they think on that big scale? So if you are talking about export, and if you're talking about yoga as a soft power, as a brand power and all that, it cannot just be a little bit hype for a month for the embassy people to get some coverage in New York Times. and from Indian politicians to feel like they've done very well. Those are short term, they're not permanent. You need to have an institutional presence. Where is the plan? I want to ask Indian leaders, where is your plan to have a made in India, owned by India yoga studio in every American neighborhood or every American city and every city in Europe and every city in China? This would require tens of thousands of yoga teachers to be trained in our system and exported like we are exporting IT people. Where is that plan? I've been talking about this plan for 10 years, 15 years, but I don't see the plan. I see this more like, just to show off and to feel good. There is some occasional big event. Okay, there is some occasional very big event, so everybody can feel we are doing a great job. But this job cannot be done without institutions. And these institutions cannot be just sitting in Delhi. These have to be in every town where the consumer is. It's like you got to learn from McDonald's and Starbucks, and you got to create a retail franchise. You got to have a retail franchise of Indian yoga, Hindu yoga all over the world. That is what you have to do, and I don't see that happening. That is a